this is an interesting video of little T. He's had three days off, I think, because of bad weather and a wet, mucky ring. Um, Prior to this, he's had 3 or 4 days of work in hand, and then I've ridden him 3 times, none of which you've seen. But later on in the video, you'll get an idea of what it was like for the first time that I was on him. Now, you may recall from some of the earlier videos where I talked about one of the things you want to do is let your horse learn that he's allowed to get the bucks out on days when he needs to get the bucks out. And so here he is today, and this is working nicely for me. He's just getting, the bucks out, blowing off some steam. You notice I just pretty much let him go. This is his time to do that, and that's just part of the deal. You might also know in parts of this little clip here, like right there, he starts to cross canter. And a lot of people get very upset if they see a horse cross cantering on the lunge line. But, you know, 100% of all horses that I've seen, if they have more energy than sense at the moment, they're going to cross canter and crow hop and do all kinds of silly things. But if you just ignore it, it'll go away. Just let them get the bucks out. And the reason why it'll go away is because it's easier for them to canter correctly than it is for them to crossfire and buck and carry on and just be silly. And you can see already he's just chilled right out. And there he is saying, okay, I'm done. And you notice the difference here. He stops and he comes right up to me and says, okay, I'm done. Where in the earlier videos, when he would stop, he'd pull back and away from me. Here, I'm letting him go to the right. Not nearly as exciting. One of the things we figured out today, I don't know why I hadn't noticed it before, is he actually doesn't really canter to the right. That's no big deal. We'll get it sorted out, but it's just sort of nice to know. It's not one of his favorite things. But there's no point in making an issue of it. So he's doing what he can to get his stuff out. And here he says, well, am I done yet? And I'm saying, you know what? Let's go just a little bit more. And send him on again. And you can see he's starting to really settle down a bit. Now here we are less than a minute later, and you can see he's settled, and we have a horse on a mission, a man on a mission. And also we're starting to see, this guy's got a pretty nice trot. So that's already starting to develop and show up as a result of, the training, the calmness, etc. So I spent about a total of 10 or 15 minutes maximum on the lunge line with him. And then I went ahead and I spent another 5 or 10 minutes just doing the in-hand work. And notice how supple and relaxed and loose and fluid everything is. It's a little bit more sticky in this direction today, which is sort of nice. And there he's better. He's busy fidgeting a little bit, but nothing bad. So notice when I get on, first I rock him a little bit. I reach way over with my right hand. And then as I go, I put my foot in, he's settled. You see that hesitation right there? I always hesitate just that moment before I throw the leg over and make sure the horse is just standing quietly. He doesn't feel tense. He's not going to blow up on me or anything else, because that's my last moment. And I don't care which horse it is. Every horse I get on, put the foot in, reach over the saddle, stand up in that stirrup, and before I throw the leg over, I just make sure everything's okay. And if I get any negative vibes, then we don't do it. Now, the first day, we had quite a bit of trouble with him just getting him to move under saddle, which was fine. I mean, I know he was a racehorse and he's been ridden before, But all horses, when I do a full rehab like this, I just start them off as though they've never been ridden. And you may remember from some of the earlier videos, he would stop and refuse to go and stuff. And so the first day on him looked a lot like this. And basically, I didn't kick him and hit him with the whip and everything else because that wasn't going to help. What I tried to do is I just took him by the reins, and I slowly sort of rocked him and tried to shift his weight either a little backwards or off to the side or something. But I wasn't trying to get him to move his feet, as the cowboys would say at this point. I was trying to get him to shift his weight so so that he could move his feet. Because when a horse is all blocked up like that, they're sort of stuck, and they need to be able to adjust their weight. And so here again, I'm picking up the reins. I'm not jerking on the reins. Everything I'm doing is fairly gradual. I'm giving him time to think it over. I'm in no hurry to get going. I'm just going to try and keep shifting his weight over his feet until he figures out, oh, there he says, not quite. And then again, we'll just rock him back and over a little bit. And then, nope, not quite. He's got himself good, and there he could go. You see, I just got him to move out a little bit. This looks terrible, I'm sure, but you know what? I do it a lot with horses when I first get on them, and they figure out that they can adjust their weight and then move off easily. And I probably am the heaviest person he's ever had on him, so there you go. Now you'll see in the next couple of minutes what took me, I don't know, 30 seconds, whatever. There, we'll go from 30 seconds to 20 to 10, and then it just won't be an issue. So we walk around a little circle, and he gets stuck again. I don't get upset. Let him settle. I may have actually stopped him there. I'm not sure if he got stuck or I stopped him, but then I'm going to ask him again to shift his weight. And he starts saying, yeah, I remember this now. There's a trick to it. And there, oh no, still he's a little stuck. It's okay. And then he steps out and then he says, okay, now I'm free. Now I can go. So he wasn't, disrespecting me. He wasn't being resistant. He wasn't being a bad guy. He wasn't going to fight with me. He was stuck. And I never take it personally when horses can't do what I ask them to do. I just take my time and help them learn to do what I'm asking them to do. And you see there already he could move out easier. He says, "Okay, I'm getting the hang of this." Now this is sort of a replay of what happened on the first ride, which was 5 or 6 days ago. And he wasn't being difficult, and he wasn't, he just sort of forgot. Need a little refresher. And I'm perfectly willing to put up with this, and you'll see why in just, another minute or two when he'll be just good as gold. You notice each time now, and I am stopping him now. He's not stopping. I'm stopping him because I want to practice the stop, reset your weight, and get going again. So I stopped him there. You can see I didn't do it by pulling on him. I did it by sitting up. Then I lift up. There you go. Move him right out a little bit, and then giddy up. And so I'm going to stop him again because the more times we get to practice go and stop, the sooner he'll get good at it again. And you notice it's working beautifully. But again, it's not a question of getting him to jump off the leg. It's a question of getting him to figure out how to adjust his weight over his feet so that he can step off. And if you want to know what that feels like for yourself, just stand up, put your weight evenly on both feet, and then try and step off. And what you'll see you have to do is shift your weight to one foot or the other so you can lift the one you want to move. And there you go. And I'm just sort of helping him figure that one out. And you can watch, it's very interesting. So I stopped him again and moved him out a little bit, and then his feet can move, and then we're going again. He's a little stuck again. Lift up. There he barely had to do much at all, and he was able to adjust his weight and step off. Now you'll notice we already have that nice even bend all the way through the body. There you go. And he's learning how to move with an even bend all the way through his body, which is not something they teach them at the racetracks. And it's not something they need to do at Liberty. They don't need to bend through their bodies to move and to do all this. They can, but they don't need to. And I stop him there. You can see how easy it is for me to stop him. I'm not pulling on him. I'm actually giving the reins a little bit when I ask him to stop. And watch as I lift my hands and sit up straight. You see that? That little thing I did with my back? That was my stop. And so I'm already teaching him to stop off of my seat, which is incredibly important if I ever want him to do a little dressage or jumping or be balanced out on the trail or a hunter or anything else, is they've got to work off your seat. There, I was able to just slow him down a little bit and keep him going. There you go. There, I stop him. And you see he just steps right off now. He's gotten good at it again. So he needed that little refresher course from the first ride. And here I'm just counter bending a little bit and then back to his correct bend. And then you'll see I'm going to do it again. I start to raise the right hand and start to move his shoulders a little bit to the left. I'm pretty sure I do. And because I'm getting ready now, I want to change bend in direction with him. Boom. So there you saw how he just rocked back a little bit. He softened in the pole, softened under his neck, rocked back a little bit, and then he was able to step right off. Well, there you go. Now here you'll see when we first start going to the right, I'm on a much smaller circle, and that's because he's not really bending and he needs a little circle to give him a little help. And as he gets better at it, the circle will get bigger too. It is much easier for horses to learn how to carry a rider on a small circle in a small space than it is to have them out on the track and going around the whole ring. The circle helps them figure out how to step under, how to balance, how to bend under the rider. And as they get better at it, the circle begins to expand. Now, eventually the circle is so big, it's essentially a straight line, but even when you're riding on a straight line, you ride them as though you're just on a great big circle. That's some of that dressage stuff. Now, it had been my hope that the last time I had ridden him, which was 3 days before this, uh, we were trotting into the left, but not to the right. And it was sort of my hope for this day that I was going to get him trotting both to the left and the right. Well, as it turned out, I didn't get him trotting in either direction. We just worked on the walk and on changing bend and direction. And you'll see how supple he gets. And I decided to call it a day with that. See how he softens in his neck and pull, and then he's free to go? That's a huge important thing. So we stop. I'm saying something there. I don't know what it was. And then see how as he gives him the neck and pull, and then he can move. When that base of the neck is sticking out, it's very hard for them to move off. There's our nice bend to the left. And now we're going to work on just changing bend and direction back and forth mostly. So effectively what I have here is go, stop, turn in, move out, and soften to the right and the left in the walk. Well, once I have that, I basically have my foundation, and everything that I need to make a fully trained horse is already here. Now, obviously, it needs a lot of polishing. It needs to become much more fluid. We need to be able to do it in all three gaits. But this is basically all there is to riding. And he's learning to carry the rider very correctly there. Got his back up a little bit. Didn't change his bend as well as he should have there, but he does get it changed. So this is all now a question of degree. Everything needs to get better, but I've got everything I need. That's quite a good change of bend. And then we come around and change the bend back, which he did quite nicely there. So it all needs to get better, but it's all there. So I'm pretty happy with this. And you'll notice the horse is pretty happy too, isn't he? I think I called it a day there. And that's it.